And we're live. Welcome back to another social breakdown. This time, I myself, Hayden Matrina, and my co-host here, if you'd like to introduce himself and finish the rest.
Yes, of course. Thank you, Hayden. My name is Ethan Flanoy, and today's social breakdown is actually going to dive into social media itself, something we're all very, very familiar with. Others may be too familiar with, but we'll discuss that later.
Tell me about it. I feel like I've wasted countless hours of my life, and I try not to think about that every day.
I'm sure when we're older, the time lost is probably going to amount to a couple years.
It's so sad. I hate that so much. It's like, what else is there to do?
Well, maybe for some of us, we can consider going to the gym as an option.
Yes, let me just pay like $80 a month just to inconsistently show up to the gym and still end up getting distracted by my phone in between sets. Sure, man.
Yeah, that kind of hurt. It's almost like you just perfectly described me.
I can tell today's episode is going to be good, Ethan. We haven't talked about social media before, so this should be interesting.
Well, I believe we've talked about it briefly, but we've never made a full episode about it.
Oh, right. Okay, I remember now. Anyways, okay, we're getting off track. Let's get into today's episode.
Of course.
So how often would you say you use social media, Ethan?
Way too much, Hayden. At least 5 hours a day.
Around the same for me. Way more than I should.
Well, I think the sort of addiction we and many others have to social media trickles down to dopamine.
It's definitely an interesting take. What makes you think that way?
Dopamine is about go, in pursuit, and social media provides us with a landslide of information and entertainment, and really anything you could ask for.
Right, yeah.
More recently, I think it's become pretty evident that social media has evolved into more algorithmic methods of engagement, providing us with content that makes it harder and harder for us to put the phone down.
I see where you're going with this, and something I saw in the National Institute of Drug Abuse when researching for this episode is that, dopamine, while not totally addictive, mimics and is similar to a lot of drugs such as cocaine and alcohol. It's absurd to me. Dopamine is just about the novelty and surprise in the sense that you're on some sort of exciting track.
Yeah, it puts us sort of into a state of readiness and anticipation.
Exactly.
The thing about social media is it can actually be quite stimulating after a while of not using it, but very quickly after 10 or 20 minutes, you're no longer getting the novelty and you're just continuing to do it and you almost don't know why you're doing it.
Right. And then at that point, it sort of just becomes like an obsessive compulsive behavior where acting out the compulsion serves to increase the obsession, but without any of the payoff.
Exactly. And the algorithms for social media have become very smart and function on the most powerful way to keep people online through intermediate random reward.
Huh? Okay, I don't think I've ever heard of that term before. What's an intermediate random reward?
Well, I got the term on this one article I read. I think it was teleswan.com. I'm not sure. It's when you don't know when you're going to hit the jackpot, and you get a dopamine boost and reward at random times once you eventually do. Because of this, it causes you to just keep scrolling, and it's boring, but then all of a sudden you come across something totally hilarious, and you want to post it and send it to all your friends, and in that moment you're satisfied. And since it's so easy to just keep on going, you just continue to scroll.
That almost sounds very similar to gambling in a way. It's kind of scary.
Oh yeah, it totally is. You're not wrong about that one.
It's kind of made me disappointed in humanity, Reminds me of a dog just digging in a corner looking for a bone, just looking. That's us.
I know. It's a problem.
It's such an animalistic behavior. People can't just think for themselves anymore. We mindlessly scroll until our brains just become mush.
And the worst part is we're not even fully aware of this. Companies like Instagram and TikTok, surprisingly, that's their exact goal. These systems are designed to keep you spending as much time on their apps.
That's the scary part, Ethan. We're in a trance, not feeling the time go by. An hour or two later, we don't even remember what we were doing before. It's like we snap back to life.
Facts. I remember one time I woke up, I immediately went on my phone, and I didn't even realize the amount of time I was spending. And then I ended up missing the bus.
Okay, that's pretty bad. The point is that we're just so addicted to social media and our screens that we ignore our surroundings and just our entire reality around us.
Honestly, I think that with all that's been said, it's a great example of how social media keeps us hooked.
Absolutely. And it's not just the addiction, it's the consequences of it too. Like, how often do we miss out on actual moments just because we're too busy trying to capture them?
Yeah, totally. I've seen people at concerts literally watching the whole show through their phone screen because they're recording it. Like, dude, you literally paid to be there.
Exactly. And don't even get me started on how social media impacts our self-esteem.
Oh yeah, I used to be very insecure because of social media. And once I started using it less, I felt a lot better.
Right, and it's like, it's all curated, all fake to some degree. I mean, it still gets to us, but still.
Algorithms know that too. They're feeding us these perfect images and viral moments because they know it'll keep us engaged and keep us on this search for this perfect fantasy.
Meanwhile, real life is messy. Nobody's posting their just got out of bed face or their sink full of dirty dishes. That doesn't mean real life is bad, though. Reality is better than fantasy because we are alive in reality. Fantasy is just that. It's fantasy.
Speak for yourself. I've definitely posted my bed head. But yeah, I know what you mean. We shouldn't be living in a fantasy just because real life isn't all that great. You can't live in a fantasy forever. And the more you deny reality, the worse reality will become for you.
And for what? Validation, likes, shares? It's so temporary. 5 minutes later, everyone's moved on to the next thing.
Exactly. And the scariest part is, we're kind of powerless against it. Unless we consciously decide to put the phone down, we're trapped in this cycle.
So then, what do we do, Ethan? How do we break out of this?
I think the first step is awareness. Episodes like this, conversations like these, they all matter. If we can just take a second to think about why we're scrolling, maybe we can start to make some changes.
Yeah, like setting limits. I know some people put timers on their apps so they don't use them for more than an hour a day.
That's smart. Or even just having dedicated phone-free times, like when you're eating or right before bed.
I like that. Small steps, you know? And who knows, maybe we can inspire a few people to rethink their habits after this episode.
Here's hoping. Because at the end of the day, social media should be a tool, not a trap.
Well said, Ethan. And on that note, I think that's a wrap for today's breakdown. Thanks for tuning in, everyone.
Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. But maybe after you've spent some time offline.
Take care, everyone.